Welcome, my name is Dr. James, and in today's program we will talk about creation and evolution. I would like to tell you why evolution is illogical and dangerous. I will discuss the subject from a neutral, unbiased perspective, and will try to make it as interesting as possible for this entertainment-addicted society. Now let me introduce my dear friend Dr. Matthew. He has studied this subject for a while now, and is leading an excavation team in South America, Brazil.
Hello. It's great to be here.
Dr. Matthew, can you tell us more about yourself?
Well, I graduated from Harvard back in '91 and got a career in archaeology. I have spent 6 years in Brazil excavating 2 fossils, and I have led a cryptozoological research team into the Amazon where I have witnessed a real-life pterosaur back in 2004.
Wow, that's incredible. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, I was walking ahead of the team, and when I cut through the thick hedge I found myself in a small clearing, and to my great surprise I startled a pterosaur, which took off and flew away. When I tried publishing my scientific journal I lost my job, and ever since I have been living in Ukraine with my grandparents.
I'm terribly sorry.
That is all right.
Now let's meet a Baptist pastor from the Carolinas, First Slavic Baptist Church. He will cover us on the religious side of things.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Pastor Gina, can you tell us more about yourself before we begin with the actual topic of tonight's show?
Where to begin? Let's see. Well, I grew up in Russia, went to a university there and met my wife there as well. After we got married, we moved to the States, where I eventually became a pastor at the First Slavic Baptist Church.
Well, now that we know your side of the story, we will start our discussion when we return after the break. All right, we are back. So, Dr. Matthew, what can you tell us about evolution?
All right. Evolutionists want you to believe that their view is scientific and that creation isn't. Evolution has never been proven by experimentation and observation, so it is not a scientific view.
So you don't consider yourself an evolutionist?
I used to, but it's not scientific, and everyone who believes it is a fool. Evolution is just as religious as creation because both views require faith on the part of their adherents. No one saw God create the universe, and no one saw the Big Bang occur. Both views are religious as far as origins are concerned.
Wasn't there a lot of scientific evidence that has been brought forth in recent years in support of evolution?
Every piece of evidence produced by evolutionists amounts to conjecture, not provable facts. In reality, the true evidence supports creation, not evolution.
What can you tell us that would support your argument?
Well, the list is very long. What should we start with?
Let's start from the beginning then. What can you tell us about the Big Bang?
The Big Bang theory of cosmology says that the universe came into existence in a single event some 10 or 20 billion years ago from a single, infinitely dense and hot point-like ball of light, smaller than the smallest atom. In a fraction of a second, it expanded trillions of times, creating all of the space, matter and energy that now makes up the galaxies and stars. The universe has been expanding and cooling since that initial event.
Can you tell us the argument some scientists use in favor of Big Bang?
The evidence for the Big Bang theory falls into 3 general categories. The first is that as the universe is expanding, the galaxies recede from each other with a velocity proportional to the distance between them. Edwin Hubble studied the redshifts of galaxies and inferred just such an expansion law.
I see.
The second evidence comes from the prediction that there should be a cosmic background radiation bathing the universe that is a remnant of the intense heat of its origin. This radiation should come uniformly from all directions and have a temperature of about 3 K. This prediction was confirmed in 1964.
And the third?
The third evidence is that successful predictions have been made for the synthesis of light atomic nuclei from protons and neutrons during the first minutes after the Big Bang. These abundances have been obtained and seem to agree with the predictions.
Very interesting.
Not at all. You see, there is a problem.
There is?
Yes, the first problem involves the 3 predictions that the Big Bang theory makes, that the universe is expanding, that the cosmic background radiation exists, and that the abundances of light elements are correct. The idea that the universe is expanding is based upon an assumption that may be false. This assumption is that the observed redshift is a cosmological effect and is not an anomaly. photographs taken by Halton Arp suggest the possibility that some objects which appear to be physically connected show widely divergent redshifts. If it can be shown that the redshifts are not cosmological, this would undermine Hubble's law and the Big Bang theory. Likewise, the cosmic background radiation could be a general condition of the universe, not at all related to any Big Bang event. It's an example of the false logic.
We will continue our discussion when we return after the break. All right, we are back. Please continue. This is very interesting.
All right, where was I? Oh, yes. The really serious problems directly contradict the Big Bang theory with observational data. If the Big Bang occurred 20 billion years ago, it seems logical to assume that nothing in the universe can be older than this. Yet, mammoth clusters of galaxies have been discovered that are billions of light years across. Such clusters would take hundreds of billions of years to form, far longer than the universe has existed. Another part of the problem is that the universe is presumed to have started out smooth and homogeneous, like the background radiation. Recent observations have shown the actual universe to be profoundly discontinuous and clumpy. There are vast areas where there is nothing, and enormous ribbons of matter stretch out over the universe in vast strings. The last part of the problem is the alleged dark matter. For the Big Bang theory to be correct, 99% of the universe must be made up of this invisible and unobserved form of matter. Yet, there is no evidence that this dark matter actually exists at all. One of the basic assumptions of the Big Bang theory is that the universe is smooth and homogeneous on the largest scales, as I have said earlier. In addition, the theory assumes that such a universe is dominated by gravity alone. Following these two assumptions, it is further required, according to general relativity, that the universe as a whole must either expand or contract from a single point, a singularity. The discovery by Brent Tooley that all galaxies within 1 billion light-years of Earth are concentrated into huge ribbons of matter about 1 billion light-years long, 300 million light-years wide and 100 million light-years thick, believes that homogeneity on the grandest of scales. Another thing I would like to mention is when cosmologists thought that the universe was smooth and homogeneous on its largest scales, they were happy to find that the background radiation matched perfectly to a blackbody curve. But when it became clearer that this smoothness did not really exist, it became necessary to find bumps in the background radiation, tiny nonconformities that could explain how the universe got from its smooth, homogeneous beginnings to a clumpy, discontinuous present. Data from the COBE probe in 1989 seemed to confirm the perfect smoothness of the background radiation, although later interpretations by George Smoot claimed to have found the necessary bumps. For galaxies to have formed as a result of the Big Bang, there must have been enough matter in the universe so that gravitation would eventually halt the expansion. This requires a density of about 10 atoms per cubic meter. The density of the universe is expressed by a ratio called omega, the density needed to stop expansion. Just enough matter to stop the expansion would have an omega value of 1. But the omega value of the universe came out to be closer to 0.01-02. Hardly enough matter to stop the expansion and magnify the fluctuations fast enough to form galaxies. Omega had to be close to 1, and the only possible explanation was that 99% of the matter in the universe was invisible. Dark matter. A further problem was that if observation was to match theory as far as the abundances of the light elements, the omega-4 ordinary matter could not be greater than about 0.02-03. Therefore, this invisible dark matter could not be ordinary matter. It had to be some form of exotic matter. Most of the evidence collected so far gives no indication that this huge amount of invisible matter exists. As far as the universe is concerned, what you see is what there is.